1966 we've been paired. First time me and Jim ever sit down and play together.
Is that right?
Yes, it is. I never really heard you playing any tunes. No, or a jam session or anything? All the old tunes?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, beautiful.
Last time you played that?
Oh boy. 30 years ago.
1, 2, 3, 4.
there you are.
I didn't know Jimi Hendrix was here.
Yeah, right.
You're hiding over in the corner.
Hope they never had no mic on that amp.
Huh?
That's all right.
No, great job, boys.
Yeah.
Great job, Wayne.
Thank you.
Yeah. And of course,
Fun,
Lou.
eh?
Yeah. It's fun.
Now, boys, you guys can quit whenever you want.
Okay.
Whatever you guys want to do. No matter what time we quit, you got to pay us till 1 anyway.
Oh, my.
We'll give you...
Hi, I'm Jim Eustace. In '62, I started playing music in St. John's area with a band called the Deltones. It was myself, I played lead guitar, Dave Parsons on drums, Tim Chalker on bass, and Wayne Smith on rhythm. We didn't have a singer initially, but eventually Kirk Marshall, John Hickey, and Baz Connolly and Charlie Stacey did work with us at different times, mostly John Hickey. But two things that were scarce back in the early days was money and equipment. And we started out, actually Tim Chalker was the only one who had an electric guitar. And we practiced with a variety of things, Dave Parsons had his CLV drum, and so on, so far. So eventually we got a bit of gear. Wayne Smith had a paper route. He got himself a harmony guitar. I always remember one of those heavy body things and a little amplifier. Guy saw him second hand. So I managed to get a Hofner guitar from Mr. Hutton, John Hutton's father, Hutton's Music downtown. I got some money from Raising Calf. My mom and dad let me do that summer. And Dave Parsons, I believe, got a loan from his father. He got a set of drums. And next thing you know, a booking came out of the woodwork down to St. Michael's Hall on Casey Street. So we down we went. Tim had to take Wayne's guitar because it gave a better bass sound sort of thing. We didn't actually have a bass. And so Wayne took the smaller Silvertone guitar that Tim had. And away we went. Night turned out pretty good. Fairly good crowd. Got a clap and everything. And we passed the hat when the dance was over, and we got 38 cents each. And went down to Mr. Hutton's again and bought Wayne a Stratford guitar. But they were different times, and eventually we got some decent equipment, and things moved on, and the rest is history.
Hi, my name is John Walsh of the band of Monterey's. We were together from 1965 and in various forms until the early 1990s, actually. The original members of the band were myself, my sister, the good-looking one, Doreen Walsh, Noseworthy, Jerry Collins, my cousin Jack Walsh, and a couple of years later, Ben Brake. There were so many great stories, Doreen, obviously, that I'm sure we both remember, but one of the funnier ones that sticks out in my mind was a New Year's Eve at the Skyrim Bella Vista. We had actually played the club the entire week, and of course in the day it wasn't uncommon at all for the bands to have stage uniforms. We went out to the Tip Top Tailors, I believe it was, picked up some spiffy-looking uniforms, wore them on the night for the first time on the New Year's Eve at the Skyrim Bella Vista, and we were seated at a table with some friends, boyfriends, girlfriends, all that sort of thing. And lo and behold, at the very same table, and it was crazy, it was so coincidental, two other guys had the exact same suits on. A little embarrassing, but probably a little more embarrassing for them than it was for us. But I guess suffice to say that we expanded the look of the band that night by at least two. I'm sure you must have some good stories as well, Doreen.
Well, there are so many stories, John, I hardly know where to begin, but you sparked a thought now when you mentioned the Sky Round of the Bella Vista and embarrassing moments, because my most embarrassing moment, if it could be coined that way, was when one night after working all day, teaching, school, whatever. Of course, I didn't take the time to shampoo again, so I thought I'd just put on the wig. They were the real thing at the time, of course. Everybody had the, a wig, or all the girls, of course. And
I could use one now.
well, I threw that one out after that night, so you won't have that one. But anyway, we were playing that at the Bella Vista, and of course, I got down for a break because you were going to sing, and that often gave me a little break, and I'd sit down at the table. But that particular night, one of the guys at the club came over and invited me to have a dance, and you were playing traveling band. I'll never forget it. Anyway, we were jiving. And he was spinning me around and twirling me around, and I guess his hand, touched off the top of my head, and off came the wig, hung on by a clip, and the hair underneath was nothing to behold, I can tell you. And, oh my, I thought, well, if that had happened to anybody else in the club, they'd be just another person.
Yeah.
But lead singer in the band, wig flying off, hung on by a clip, and there I was.
So much more embarrassing.
Absolutely mortified. But anyway, I survived it, and we went on to play another day.
Some great stories, for sure.
Yes, that's right.
Hi, my name is Bill Condon. I used to be with a group called the Electras back in the 60s. We actually became Raging Remains afterward, but the Electras was probably, most of you probably remember us. There was myself, I played bass guitar. There was John Dalton, who played drums. Terry O'Grady was a really good guitar player. He was our lead guitar player. And we had Bob Forbes on rhythm. And when we first started off, very similar to the Deltones, we were pretty much an instrumental band. Later on, we picked up Reg Ivany, who became our lead singer, and we went ahead then and did a fair amount of bookings with him. Way back, starting off, I guess, we practiced down in our basement, and there were times when we had 2 guitars, I remember. One actually had 6 strings, the other had 2. And the one with 2 strings was way too many. But anyway, and John Dalton used to bang out, I remember, the old beats on anything he could. We had anything from old Colonel Sanders' box stops to whatever he could get his hands on. So hence that was the beginning of where we started from. Later on, I guess back in the mid-60s, we were asked one time, and we had some bookings down at London, New York, and Paris. And we played in the window there, mainly during Christmas time it was. All the way through Christmas, we even saw Santa Claus parade pass us by. Shortly after, anyway, after Christmas was over, we got the nod from the manager that, look, you guys are doing good, but you're going to be relegated to the luggage department. And that apparently where we ended our days, down at the luggage department, banging out a few tunes. Other from that, like I said, we kind of played a lot of different places, local places. We did schools, we did the trade school, we used to do all the bowling alleys, pretty much wherever a booking was, we traveled there, And it was a fine time. It was part of your life and your history that you wouldn't trade for anything. I mean, it was a great time, great camaraderie, and everything else that went with the music. Yeah, I should point out that that with the Electors and with Reg Remains, we pretty well had our heyday in about, say, from 1964 to about 1967. Then by that time we all got girlfriends, and they kind of said enough of that. So pretty much that was it. My music career at that point kind of slowed down to a halt. And it wasn't until about 25 years later I even started up doing something else. So that's pretty much our history of it.
Hello, my name is Paul Ryan, and I'm the original singer of the first rock and roll band in Newfoundland, the Ravens. I grew up on Parade Street, and I suppose how I got into singing is because my mother was a piano player. When I went to school, I was formally trained in singing by singing in all the choirs in St. Bon's and the Vesper choirs. The choir was ran by in St. Bon's Ignatius Rumbold. He was the choir director. And then in night time, Sunday nights, we used to go down and sing Latin hymns where we're excellent. Well, being singing, I couldn't play the piano. My mother played the piano there. My brother, younger brother, decided to get a guitar. He was a few years younger than I was. So there was a guitar for sale over on Cookstown Road, a place called Harry St. Clair that had a second-hand store. I suppose a few people will remember it. And my mother went over and bought the guitar. He went with her, by the way, but she wouldn't give him the $12 to go. It was too much money to carry. So she walked over with him to buy the guitar. $12. Took it back. My brother, I never seen my brother Dermot so happy in his life when he had this guitar in his hand. He didn't know how to play it, mind you, but it was a guitar. But he was going to learn. And he sat there and he patiently, night after night after night, he learned that guitar. And eventually what would happen, that him and I started to sing and, well, playing and singing with each other. He had somebody to play for, too, and I had somebody to play for me. And whatever happened, we were playing and we started to gel. Well, my mother used to jump in with on the piano too as well. Now, can you imagine this? We'd be three of us there, and then a couple of my buddies come by, and one particular fella, Jim Hennessy, who's with a group called the 4Js at the time. And he came by, and he picked up, he had a guitar, and he started to play. And we get the idea that, oh, maybe this is going to be a little band here. Well, I had another buddy of mine, went to St. Barnes, Dave Evans, who lived on Cookstown Road, only about 2 doors up from Harry St. Clair. And he bought a set of drums, and he came over and started playing in the front room. So we practiced in our house. In the meanwhile, somebody came in and heard us at the house playing, and they invited us out to play at an insurance company, some sort of a party. So we went out to Park Lee on Topsail Road, and we played there. And we played for a hot turkey sandwich each. That was their hot turkey sandwich at 90 cents each. But we got some exposure. Meanwhile, the fellow that ran the place, his name was Bruce LeMessurier. He heard us. He was totally flabbergasted what he heard, what he was listening to. And he called Jerry Stevens, which was the proprietor of the old mill on Brookfield Road. And he told him to come over right away, and he came right over, drove her from Brookfield Road to Topsail Road, where Park Lee. He came in and listened to us, and hired us on the spot to go into the old mill the following week, which at that particular time it would have taken the bands that were playing here maybe a year and a half to go in there. We were hired to go in there, like I said, for a week, but at the same token, on Saturday night, they had a live radio show. So we were really kind of shaken up to go into one of the top, but actually it was the top club in St. John's, but at the same token, get on a half-hour live radio show from VOCM running at 11:30 at night, 12. It would be taped, or wouldn't be taped, it would have been live from the old mill. So when that came about, we were instant stars, and from there on in, bombshell. Everything hit, and we just the phones rang off the hook up to the house, and we were, next minute, we were just instant rock stars.